My name is Pastor Nirul Patel, and I'm originally from London. It was in 2012 that I came across His Eminence Tsem Rinpoche's teachings online. After having some benefit from the teachings, I decided to visit Malaysia. It was then that I met His Eminence Tsem Rinpoche, who asked me to move to Malaysia to further my spiritual journey. Since coming to Malaysia, I have become a Buddhist pastor, and I'm currently involved in developing and teaching a Dharma Buddhist education syllabus within Kachara House. Today I will be talking about protection from spirit harm and magic, and I will also share with you the practice of Dorje Shugden in the form of Trakze, which is an extremely powerful method of protection from supernatural harm. A lot of people often wonder if spirits, magic, or other supernatural phenomena actually exist, and my answer is that yes, they do exist. Every culture around the world has stories and myths of supernatural phenomena, including spirits and magic. The fact that most cultures, and in fact religions, talk about these phenomena speaks of the fact that people have been interacting with the spirit realm and have experienced the effects of magic for millennia. From the viewpoint of Buddhist cosmology, spirits inhabit their own realm within what is known as samsara, or the cyclic existence of continuous rebirth in different states of being. The historical Buddha, known as Buddha Shakyamuni, taught that there are 6 realms of being within samsara. These are the God realm, the demigod realm, the human realm, the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, which is also known as the spirit realm, and lastly, the hell realm. Every being who inhabits these realms are bound by karma, which leads them to be reborn continuously, again and again, within these 6 realms. The goal of Buddhist practice is to stop this endless cycle by achieving full enlightenment. When this is achieved, we are no longer bound by karma or continuous rebirth, and thereby transcend the 6 realms altogether. As I mentioned, the fact that binds all beings within cyclic existence is karma, and as such, we must experience the effects of our previous actions. If we are not mentally aware of the consequences of our actions and carry on to act without this awareness, we unwillingly create even more karma, which serves to bind us further to our continued existence within the 6 realms. It is this awareness that counters our usual state of being, which is in the most part governed by our emotions rather than logical reasoning. Every being within samsara has these emotions, which leads them to act in certain ways that logically leads to certain outcomes. Therefore, just like human beings who go through states of happiness, sadness, anger or peace, joy or fear, all other beings also go through these emotions, and this includes spirits. These spirits exist in a formless state, that is, they do not have a physical body like humans or animals. Beings that have taken rebirth in formless states can exist for thousands of years because they are not bound by relatively temporary physical bodies. However, they are by no means immortal. Once the karma which caused them to be reborn into the spirit world finishes, they will fade and take rebirth in another existence within samsara. While spirits do not have forms, they come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and temperaments, just like we as humans do. Since they also have emotions, spirits can be benevolent or malevolent, and due to certain circumstances, they can cross the boundaries of the realms to interact with the physical world. This is what gives them the opportunity to attach to us and cause us harm. According to Buddhist teachings, spirits are afflicted by a very strong sense of attachment. It is the attachment that arose during the time of death in their previous rebirth, which was the cause for them to be reborn in the spirit world. And now that they are in the spirit world, it is attachment in some form or another that often drives their actions. It is this attachment which explains some of the ways in which spirits can attach themselves to us. For example, a common way that people are afflicted by spirit harm is by touching or being near a particular object. Due to the spirit's attachment to this object, they cause harm to those who hold, touch, or are near this object. This is the reason that in some cultures there is a belief that rare or antique objects with a long history should be handled with caution, just in case there is a spirit attached to the object. Another common occurrence found in stories all over the world is the haunting of a place or location. For some reason, spirits can often become attached to a particular place. When this happens, this place becomes haunted, as the spirits create disturbances within this location. If we happen to visit this place or live there, the spirits can attach themselves to us and cause us harm. Black magic is also another method through which one can be affected by spirit harm. In this instance, a spirit is sent purposefully to harm you. The effects of this can be severe and can lead to many calamities. It can be difficult to tell if a person is actually being afflicted from spirit harm and black magic, but there are some common symptoms. These include unusual electrical occurrences, such as flickering lights or electric appliances turning on and off by themselves. Also, there can be a series of accidents that can occur, one after the other, and usually include some sort of physical harm. There are also instances when a person has consistent negative dreams. This could be the same dream again and again, or different dreams, but all negative in feeling. Alongside these, some people often have the sense that there is a presence in the room that is watching them, or in fact touches them. All the symptoms I have mentioned, however, may not be due to spirits in all cases. It is easy to become paranoid and blame all of the things that do not go well on spirits. But there are many and genuine cases in which spirits have been causing harm. In such cases, it is advisable to do all that you can to stop these disturbances, because if left to continue to create harm, there is a very real danger to one's physical and mental health, and in severe and extreme cases, this can even lead to death. Now I want to share with you the story of my friend, who in his early 20s began practicing magic. At the time, he was under the impression that by practicing magic, he would be able to achieve everything he wanted, and that it was the key to making life happy. Over time, he was able to interact with a few spirits that he could use to cast magic to get things he wanted, such as money, and also punish those he didn't like by getting the spirits to harm these people. Over time, however, he realized that something was wrong. He had at this point developed strong communication with some of these spirits and was able to hear them and speak with them. But as time progressed, he found that he could no longer block out the voices of the spirits, and they were always around him, talking to him. He began to have a series of small accidents and would often find that he was bleeding from cuts and bruises, but didn't know how they happened. It was then that he found Tibetan Buddhism, and through certain practices was able to stop these effects of spirit harm. In fact, today he is no longer afflicted from these spirits. Contacting beings from another realm can be dangerous, to say the least, because we can never be sure if the being we are in contact with is malevolent or not. Sometimes, as in the case of my friend, spirits that were called were strong and malicious, that stayed around him to cause harm. But there is definitely hope. If someone who has actively sought out communication with spirits can be cured of the effects of spirit harm, it certainly means that the majority of those who are affected by spirit harm, those who are afflicted unintentionally, can be cured of this affliction. There is no need to be sad or depressed, because there are ways in which you can help protect yourself. A lot of people ask, why is it that some people are affected by spirit harm and others are not? For example, a group of friends may visit the same location that is haunted, yet only one or two of the group suffer the effects of spirit harm. This is because, as with everything within samsara, it depends on karma. Those affected have the karmic affinity with this particular spirit that comes from previous lives, and the conditions for this particular karma to manifest are right. Therefore, these people are afflicted, whereas others in the group are not, because they do not have the karma to be afflicted by this particular spirit. The various methods used in Buddhism to help alleviate spirit harm all utilize purification of karma in some form or another. Once we purify the karma that links us to the spirit, there is no longer a connection through which we are able to be harmed. Therefore, we are in essence cured of the spirit harm. There are two main methods within Buddhism to provide protection and lessen the effects of spirit harm. These are taking refuge in the three jewels and deity practices. The first is known as the most simple and instantaneous method of protection from spirit harm. Taking refuge means that you develop faith in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Formally taking refuge involves taking vows, which differ depending on which school or tradition of Buddhism you are practicing. However, all traditions stress the importance of understanding these vows and how they protect you, while at the same time understanding that it is the Buddha who is free from all fears and cyclic existence, and therefore worthy of taking refuge in. When we take refuge in the Buddha, practice his teachings, also known as the Dharma, and respect the Sangha, or spiritual community of practitioners, we are protected from many different types of spirits. Through the example of the many great masters of the past, such as Guru Rinpoche, who subdued countless fierce and malicious spirits that plague Tibet, we can have confidence in the three jewels to protect us from spirit harm as well. In certain cases, however, some people have unusual karmic connection with certain types of spirits or are prone to types of harm. This karmic affinity allows the spirits to break through the protection from taking refuge. Therefore, some people can still be afflicted from spirit harm despite having taken refuge in the three jewels. This is because the individual karma is very strong and determines the outcome of being affected or not. For example, even though you may have taken refuge and are protected by the three jewels, you still fall sick, experience accidents, suffer from emotional ups and downs, and eventually death due to the accumulation of karma as the results of actions that you have committed with your body, speech, and mind. When you experience the results of karma, you shouldn't claim that the three jewels are not granting you protection. In fact, the three jewels grant protection in the short term by granting us the Dharma teachings that can enable our own practice to eliminate the causes of suffering. And for the long term, we are blessed to take rebirth in places and situations where it is conducive to continue Dharma practice. In the case where karmic affinity is strong and can bypass the protection accorded by taking refuge, we can engage in specific deity practices. For example, if we have strong karma to be afflicted by illness, we can engage in the practice of Medicine Buddha, whose enlightened energies are specifically targeted towards healing. Deity practices can take a number of forms. One of these are pujas, which are specific prayers and offerings made to the Buddhas requesting their assistance. Examples of pujas that can help clear spirit harm include gyabshi, which is an elaborate and complicated obstacle clearing puja, including those caused by supernatural causes. Another is the Shenin Dundup puja, which is based on the Heart Sutra. Other pujas focus on the protective powers of wrathful deities and Dharma protectors. Another form is that of daily practice centered on a particular deity figure. The practices of these deities are known to help to alleviate spirit harm. Such deities include Dukkar, Singdongma, Pelden Lamo, Mahakala, Satrap, and Dorje Shugden. Today I want to share with you the practice of Trakze, who is also known as Karma Shugden, and is the most wrathful of the 5 forms of Dorje Shugden. His energy and practice is especially suited to overcome powerful delusions and very negative, harmful energies. Trakze is no other than Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, emanating in a wrathful form to specifically counter obstacles and entities that can harm you. Enlightened beings will manifest again and again in different forms according to time, place, circumstances, and the karmic affinity of the sentient beings they are benefiting. One such form is Trakze. As an enlightened being, Trakze's practice is not only suited to clearing obstacles and spirit harm, but can also purify the environment, bless one's home or business, and bestow blessings on loved ones. However, the real purpose of Trakze's practice is to bestow blessings and create conducive conditions for the practice and understanding of the deeper teachings of the Dharma, such as the teachings on Lojong or mind training, which allow you to become a more compassionate and wiser person, leading to the ultimate goal of Buddhist practice, which is of course full enlightenment. When engaging in Buddhist practice, it is advisable to set up an altar as an integral component to the deity practices. Altars can be set up anywhere except in the washroom, and we are encouraged to show respect when in front of the altar in order to develop the view that the enlightened beings on the altar are actually present before us. On the altar is placed a Buddha statue or image which represents the body of the Buddha. And since we are talking about the practice of Trakze in particular, there should also be a statue or image of Trakze on the altar. Together with these is placed a Dharma text, symbolic of the Buddha's speech, and a stupa, symbolic of the Buddha's mind. In addition to these, you can also make offerings. One such traditional form is called the sensory offerings, which are 8 offering bowls in which are placed various items. The first bowl contains water, symbolic of offering the Buddha water to drink. The second also contains water, this time symbolic of the water used for washing the Buddha's feet. In the third bowl, we offer flowers. The fourth, we offer incense. The fifth, we offer light in the form of a butter lamp or candle. The sixth, perfume. The seventh, food. And in the 8th bowl is usually placed a conch shell to represent the offering of sound. Together with these sensory offerings, we can also make other offerings, such as rows of water offerings. The altar setup actually serves as a reminder of our primary objectives when engaging in Buddhist practice, which is to develop qualities in ourselves so that we may be able to help all sentient beings. It also acts as a focal point for the energies that are called upon in the practice, and in the case of Trakze's practice, the altar with the image of Trakze on it actually becomes a form of protection for us and blesses the environment. Ideally, the altar should consist of the items I have just mentioned. However, at the very least, an altar should have an image of Trakze. Over time, you can add the remaining items when you are able to do so. Your altar actually reflects how seriously you take the practice of Trakze to counter the problems you may be facing. So just like anything in life, the effort placed into the practice reflects the results of the practice. You can even add additional offerings, such as a row of wrathful offerings, symbolizing the offering of one's negative karma, which should be arranged behind the water offerings. Once the altar is set up and offerings are made, you can begin the practice of Trakze. When beginning the practice of Trakze, we begin by reciting the refuge formula 3 times. When reciting this, you visualize Lama Tsongkhapa surrounded by the 8 main disciples at the level of your eye. If this is too difficult to begin with, you can start by visualizing Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 main disciples, Gyaltsab Je Rinpoche and Kedrup Je Rinpoche. Visualize them sitting in Ganden heaven on their thrones which are adorned with many jewels. All of them are smiling happily and sending down blessings. From within Lama Tsongkhapa's throne, visualize a powerful dark red light emanating out and descending from Ganden heaven to appear in front of you. This light is none other than the mind of Manjushri. Next, you imagine a dark, grey cloud in front of you, with lightning, just like a thunderstorm. Inside this cloud, there are all types of wrathful animals flying about, such as vultures and eagles. In the midst of this cloud is the form of Trakze. Within his heart is a sun disk on which is the syllable letter Hung. This is red in color. From the syllable Hung, light rays radiate out into the 10 directions and invites all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas and deities. The light returns and dissolves back into the syllable Hung. At the same time, the dark red light that emanated from Lama Tsongkhapa's throne also enters the syllable Hung. When you visualize this, you think strongly that all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas and deities, as well as the mind of Manjushri in the form of the dark red light, become one with the form of Trakze. Trakze now embodies the complete 3 jewels. He has become the real Trakze, and anything you do or offer to this Trakze is offered to all the 3 jewels. You should also visualize that a part of the storm cloud goes back up underneath Lama Tsongkhapa's throne. This signifies that we are connected with Lama Tsongkhapa, who is a source of blessing. Next, we recite the 4 immeasurables to create and set a good motivation that you are engaging in the practice of Trakze, which protects you from harm, but also does not harm any other being, including those that are causing harm to you. This is because our own happiness depends on the happiness of all, as life is interdependent. In order to be happy, you need to cultivate wholesome attitudes towards others in society, and in fact all sentient beings. The four immeasurables should be meditated upon. This cultivates loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, in equanimity towards the immeasurable number of sentient beings within samsara. Following on from this, we recite the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa with at least 21 Migsama mantras. During the mantra recitation, you should aim to keep the visualization of Trakze in front of you, with Lama Tsongkhapa and disciples above him. Once finished, you should move on to recite Dorje Shugden's prayers, which begins with the invitation to Dorje Shugden and his retinue. You then recite the Kangshak, which is a very powerful and effective prayer to remove obstacles. In the case of spirit harm and black magic, the Kangshak prayer purifies the negative karma that has created the cause to be afflicted by the spirits. The prayer itself is full of violent imagery, common to other Dharma protector prayers. For most people who do not understand its meaning properly, you may feel upset when you read the prayer or perhaps even just recite it on faith. However, as with any other practice, it is better to practice it with a certain level of awareness so that it is more effective. We need to realize that the radical manifestation of the Kangshak visualization actually stems from Dorje Shugden's pure compassion for all sentient beings. Through this, we are able to appreciate and value the practice more. Within the prayer, we visualize various human figures. We must understand that we do this in order to purify our negative karma. These figures are not human beings as we know them. They are without sentience and are actually our negative qualities simply in the form of humans. It is these qualities that can lead us to create negative karma. They are the qualities such as jealousy, anger, ignorance, attachment, and many more. It is because these qualities are not tangible, they have no form, that we visualize them as representative beings in the human-like form for Trakze and the entourage to slay. We begin visualizing a large and very wrathful bone palace behind Trakze, surrounded by turbulent weather, such as thunder, lightning, and rain. Flying amongst this bad weather are violent animals, vultures, eagles, hawks, all with eyeballs emerging from their mouths. The land surrounding the palace is also very violent. Mountains with sharp cliffs that are home to scary animals such as garudas, mad elephants, snakes, scorpions, and the like. And the smell of corpses fills the air. Turbulent rivers of blood flow through the scary mountains as flames and thick smoke rises up. And on the surface and banks of the rivers are countless corpses. Everything we see has manifested through the compassion of Dorje Shugden. Because we cannot begin to fathom the amount of negative karma we have collected over many lifetimes, Dorje Shugden manifests this grotesque form to show us the negative karma in a way that we can relate to and understand. The fierce animals and landscape is meant to show us what we will have to face if we do not engage in practices to purify our karma. In this practice, Dorje Shugden and entourage descend to cause great destruction on this horrible landscape, which is in fact our negativity in order to purify our karma. When we recite the Kangshak, the doors into the mandala of Dorje Shugden opens, which is usually guarded by the protector Kacha Marpo. The grotesqueness within the palace doors are again manifested by Dorje Shugden in order to purify our karma. Here is the abode of Trakze, a bone palace decorated with human bones and flesh. Human skin is used as victory banners floating in the smoky wind, and human skin also hangs inside the palace like curtains. These actually symbolize the many materials Trakze has collected through his working of liberating countless beings, and his ability to do so. Therefore, the palace is filled with bones, flesh, and skin because he collects and accepts everyone's negative karma and suffering. When we offer our negativity to the Buddhas to slay, it is something that we perceive to be quite ugly. However, since the Buddhas have the main objective to free us from negativities, the ugly forms are presented and transformed as the ultimate offering of a spiritual practitioner. So Trakze actually uses these slain negativities as decorations for his abode, to celebrate our liberation from these undesired qualities. This bone palace also represents Tonglen in a tantric form. Tonglen is the practice of taking the suffering of others and giving one's merits over to them. Trakze lives in a wrathful and violent condition created from our negative karma so that we do not have to. Together with Trakze are the entourage of the 9 wisdom mothers, 8 guiding monks and 10 youthful and wrathful assistants. However, due to the nature of the practice, their forms are different than usually depicted in Dorje Shugden's practice. Rather than being physically alluring, the 9 mothers appear as fearsome ogresses with scary fangs and talons. They appear as these 9 frightening beings running amok and creating havoc. The 9 mothers are chopping up, scratching and clawing away at our negative karma, destroying it. The 8 guiding monks are not calm and quiet, but they manifest the realizations of contemplation in a wrathful manner. Instead, they are running around performing violent acts and wrathful rituals to subdue sentient beings. The 10 youthful and wrathful assistants manifest in their most wrathful form as terrifying beings in order to activate purification quickly to remove sufferings, ripping our inner and outer obstacles apart. When we recite the Kangshak, we request Dorje Shugden in the form of Trakze and the entourage to destroy our negative karma through violent methods. This negative karma not only causes us physical harm, but mental suffering as well. It is also the reason why we can be afflicted by spirit harm and black magic. Traditionally speaking, wrathful methods have always been quicker, and it is for this reason that this practice, when done properly, can clear many obstacles and harm caused by supernatural reasons. We now come to the main Kangshak visualization. Within this wrathful environment appears a massive human-like figure as huge as a mountain. This figure can be faceless, or you can imagine that it has your own face. This human-like figure, as mentioned before, is not you, but the representation of all your negative karma and negative qualities that hinder spiritual growth. We visualize Trakze and entourage descend upon the figure, dismembering it and forming countless complete sets of wrathful offerings. Wrathful offerings consist of 7 types of offering. We begin by visualizing all the blood from the human figure is emptied into the first offering bowl and offered up, representative of drinking water. For the second offering, we visualize the skull is cut off and overturned. In this is placed the heart. On top of this is placed the eyes, ears, tongue, and nose, all symmetrically arranged. This is commonly known as a wrathful flower. The third offering consists of the bones, which are removed and burned. The rising smoke is offered to Trakze, symbolic of offering incense. The fourth is fat from the body, which is removed and made into a butter lamp and offered to Trakze, symbolic of offering light. The fifth consists of all the other bodily fluids, such as urine, bile, pus, etc., emptied into a bowl and offered up, symbolic of offering perfume. The sixth is symbolic of food and consists of the remaining flesh cut up, placed into a bowl and offered up. The last offering, the seventh, consists of visualizing the thigh bone being carved into a wind instrument like a trumpet and offered up to Trakze. Upon completion of the Kangshak, all the visualized negativities have been destroyed by Trakze and entourage. While very wrathful in nature, this purification prayer serves as a reminder not to be attached or repulsed by pleasant or unpleasant things or circumstances. It is a method to meditate on renunciation, as we visualize our body that has arisen from karma being destroyed. This sort of meditation is not something unique to Tibetan Buddhism, and is practiced throughout all Buddhist traditions, such as Thailand, where monks meditate in cemeteries or in front of actual bones and skulls to gain a realization of detachment from our bodies and the law of impermanence. Such meditations are necessary to actualize real renunciation and is pervasive throughout the Buddhist world. We must also remember, like I stated earlier, that these offerings we make, although they may be repulsive to us, are not to the Buddhas. They are transformed into the ultimate offerings a spiritual practitioner can make. We are not offering up the actual bodily parts of the human figure, but what they represent. It is this meaning of offering up our negativities in our spiritual journey to benefit others which is transformed and accepted by the three jewels. The Kangshak, therefore, allows us to purify karma accumulated over many lifetimes and should be recited as many times as possible. As a guideline, the prayer should be recited 3, 7, or 21 times during each prayer session. However, it can be recited more times depending on the severity with which you are afflicted by spirit harm or black magic. There are no negative repercussions in this prayer, or the entire practice of Trakze for that matter. No harm can arise. On the contrary, the practice can only be beneficial. Next is the Torma offering prayer, which is optional. Tormas are ritual cakes made from various ingredients that are used as additional offerings in Buddhist rituals. They come in various shapes and sizes according to their purpose. Traditional tormas take a long time to prepare, so His Holiness Kyabje Dzong Rinpoche has stated that it would not be practical for non-monastics to offer traditional tormas. Instead, we can use biscuits or cookies. If we are traveling or away from our altar for some reason, we can continue with the practice, just with the recitation. We can make Torma offerings on our altars with glass bottles filled with biscuits. If you wish to make the Torma offerings, you can arrange 3 bottles on the altar, 2 of the same size and 1 smaller than the other 2. The first is offered to Lama Tsongkhapa, the second to Trakze. These 2 are of the same size. The third is offered to Trakze's entourage and is the smaller bottle. The biscuits are kept in the bottles to stop insects from getting into them. If you wish, you can also offer them up on plates, bowls, or cups and dispose of them in a clean place at the end of the prayers. If you live in an area where you cannot dispose of them in a clean place, you can eat them as a blessing, or they can be wrapped up in paper and then be disposed of in the garbage. Once the Torma offering has been recited, you then continue to recite the special request to Dorje Shugden and the Serkim offering. This offering, known as the black tea or golden drink offering, plays a central role in the prayers of Dorje Shugden. This prayer was developed as an extended offering to the Dharma protector to request his assistance. It has become popular and it is commonly practiced among modern practitioners to request for swift assistance, especially in times of dire need. Traditionally, tea is used as an offering. However, other beverages like milk or even carbonated drinks can be used as a replacement. The Serkim offering is traditionally offered by pouring the beverage into a 2-tiered vessel, which consists of a taller vessel placed into a lower bowl. If you cannot obtain the Tibetan-style Serkim ritual item, one can replace it by using a tall glass, such as a wine glass, placed in a glass bowl. During the offering, the beverage is poured from a pot or jug into the taller vessel until the liquid overflows down into the lower bowl. In Buddhism, the overflowing liquid is highly auspicious as a symbol of abundance of merits and virtues, material resources, and conducive conditions for Dharma practice. You can either pour all of the drink into the vessel before you recite the prayer, or a little at a time during the relevant passages during the prayer. If you choose to pour a little at a time, you should pour a little of the tea into the taller vessel before you begin the prayer, so that you do not present an empty vessel to the Buddhas. Before starting the prayers, you consecrate the Serkim vessel by lighting a stick of incense and circling it around the vessel clockwise 3 times, while chanting Om Ah Hung. During the Serkim offering prayer, you visualize the drink as nectar that expands to the size of an ocean and represents all the desirable things in the world that pleases the 5 senses. Once you have completed the Serkim offering, you move into the recitation of the mantra to request protection. Trakze's mantra is Om Benza Wiki Bitana Rakya Rakya Hung. You recite this mantra 3 times, 7 times, 21 times, or as many malas as you can. Actually, you should recite this mantra as many times as possible, and in fact engage in this practice of Trakze daily until the spirit affliction is completely resolved. Upon completion of the main mantra, you should recite the mantra to the entourage 7 or 21 times, and then continue with the mantra of Vajrasattva 21 times as well. This mantra purifies any mistakes you have made during the mantra recitation, while also acting as another very powerful method of purifying negative karma. During the mantra recitation, there are certain visualizations you can engage in as well. The first is that light emanates from Trakze and surrounds you. This light protects you and blesses you, forming a protective shield while you are reciting the mantra. As you continue reciting the mantra, Trakze emanates millions and millions of versions of himself, going out into the 10 directions. These surround you and your environment, offering you complete and utter protection from spirit harm, black magic, and obstacles. Nothing can penetrate his divine protection. Simultaneously, nothing can leave this protection, as Trakze also safeguards your virtuous merits. Following this, from the syllable Hung at Trakze's heart, lights emanate onto your body. The light is strong and powerful, washing over you, like if you were standing under a waterfall. The water washes over you completely, dispelling all the dirt on you. You then visualize powerful red lights coming from Trakze and entering your heart, descending from the top of your head. The light pervades your entire body, expelling all impurities through your orifices in the forms of snakes, scorpions, insects, and lizards. From your whole body, black substances are expelled, and your body is left clean and crystal clear. Immersed and surrounded by Dorje Shugden's red wisdom light, you are clean and purified. If you are doing this visualization correctly, you will feel fresh and awake after completed. With this clean and purified sensation, you should think, my mind is in control. I am in control. No spirits will harm me. No interfering beings will harm me. With this in mind, and while you are reciting the mantra, you do not try to dispel the spirit causing you harm in a wrathful manner. In fact, you do the exact opposite. You actually develop compassion for them. They are causing you harm because, just like people who have hurt you, they are suffering as well. This is actually the key to this practice. It is compassion for the spirits that you must develop, because it is due to the negative karma of these spirits which compels them to harm you, and in doing so, they create even more negative karma for themselves. When you develop true compassion for these beings, you no longer need ritual to aid you. It is said that when deep and sincere compassion is within your mind stream, spirits will leave the moment they hear your voice, because they are unable to harm beings with great compassion. Again, this cannot be stressed enough. The key to this practice is to develop compassion for the very spirit being who is harming you, because they are also suffering. When you engage in this practice with compassion and recite the mantra together with the visualizations, your body, speech, and mind are immersed in the protection accorded from the practice. Your body is engaged as you are seated in meditation posture. Your speech is immersed through the recitation of the mantra, and your mind is focused as you do the visualization. Thus, your body, your speech, and your mind that are referred to as the 3 doors, which are gateways for impurities to enter, are blocked and protected. Once the mantra recitation is completed, you move on to recite the prayer known as Dote. This prayer is composed by His Holiness Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche and requests Dorje Shugden for his assistance through his enlightened activities. It includes the line, "Kill the enemy." This is not an exhortation to physically injure anybody or any sentient being. In fact, Buddhist practice centers around the principle of ahimsa, or non-harming of sentient beings. Instead, like before, this is symbolic of destroying one's inner enemies, which are the negative qualities that cause us to create negative karma. They are our ego, our selfishness, miserliness, anger, and hatred. So it may sound quite violent, but actually refers to the violence these inner enemies create emotionally to the people around us. This prayer actually teaches us that our real enemy is within us. It is our negative emotions that lead us to create negative karma and interacting negatively towards the people surrounding us that we should concentrate on destroying. The practice is then completed with the dissolution verses from Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga and a short dedication of merit. During the dissolution verses, one should visualize that Trakze and Lama Tsongkhapa dissolve into you. While during the dedication verses, one should think strongly from the viewpoint of compassion, that those beings that are afflicting you be freed and liberated from their suffering, and that you may be free and protected from your current affliction. This concludes the practice of Trakze for protection. However, there are two additional components to the practice if you wish to engage in them, which are blessing items for protection and including your family and friends in your visualizations so that you can also benefit them from your practice. Once you have recited the mantra, you can do a few things. Blow on some dry, uncooked rice that you can store in a clean container, blow on yourself, or blow into a bottle of water. As you recite any mantra, which is actually the manifestation of the Buddha's virtue in the form of sound, it is said that your breath is fused with the positive energy from the mantra. Therefore, when you blow on any of these objects, you are transmitting this potent energy into these objects. The rice that has been blessed can be burnt on top of incense in places that are afflicted or haunted. For example, if your house is afflicted, you can burn the rice, which is activated when burnt, the smoke from which will infuse the environment with the protective power of Trakze. The water can be used to bathe yourself or drink in order to keep spirits out. It can also be given to those who are afflicted by spirits or black magic. The water can even be sprinkled through the house if you feel the presence of an unseen entity. By blowing the energy of the mantra on yourself, the channels on your body are blocked from spirits and prevent negative energy from entering. Again, these are additional to the main practice. If you do not want to do any of these, you simply continue with the prayers once you have finished reciting the mantra. If you wish, you can also include your family and friends in your visualization to help protect them as well. Visualize the person is being protected within Trakze's smoke, fire, and thunder. This person faces Trakze while many red lights emanate from Trakze and are absorbed by the person, blessing him or her to be cured of all ills and afflictions while gaining peace of mind. You can do this simultaneously for the person and yourself, because there is no limitation to Trakze's power. You can also give the person a blessed water or rice that they can use to dispel the negativities in their environment. In some cases, spirits can also begin to cause harm to those around you as well. If such a situation occurs, you can include your whole family or those you live with in your visualizations to keep them safe. When you begin to engage in the practice of Trakze, there is one thing you should be aware of. That is, in some cases, as you continue your practice, you may experience that the spirit affliction grows stronger for a short while. There are actually three causes for this. The first is due to the purification aspect of the practice. The second is that the spirits will want to continue harming you. The third is that the spirits are actually trying to deter you from carrying on with the practice. Rather than being deterred, you should actually continue strongly with the practice and the symptoms will gradually subside. Remember, when you engage in this practice properly and develop compassion, as your karma is purified, you will see that the disturbances from the spirits or black magic gradually fade away and then stop completely. Thank you.